It's an impossible scenario. It can't.
It's not impossible on the basis of the very thing you just read. Are you serious right now? This guy stopped recording. He then came back and he was like, oh, I know another good one. This is a banger. I want a debate. You shouldn't have a problem debating me. I'm an annoying vegan. You've got a channel dedicated to annoying vegans, so let's freaking go. This is a video that the Omniking made on Die Militant Veganerin, and he's titled it, "The New German Vegan Teacher Just Got So Much Worse." He likes to title his things, I guess he's going for like the clickbait, right? Die Militant Veganerin has been an activist for quite a long time, so she's not even new. She's been doing the same stuff for a while. So that's not even true, but let's get into this.
Hey, what's good, y'all? I know some of you have likely become aware to the fact that there is a German vegan activist, word that I can't use in the first 7 seconds of the video, but now that it's been 7 seconds, I can say it. Complete and total asshole on the loose, running around, traumatizing, terrorizing people. One of her biggest shticks is pretending that she is eating dog meat or consuming dog milk. If you want to see that in action, I just made a video yesterday talking about her for the very first time, so you can find it there. She goes by the Militant Vegan, and she is basically the new vegan teacher on the block. Now, I know she's been around for a few years.
Yep.
She started off in Germany, where she just absolutely berated other Germans, but now she's kind of expanded her interests. I've even seen her meet up with that vegan teacher a few times, actually. Now, she's going out on the streets in English, and she is absolutely bullying. Now, in this video, this isn't an example of her just straight up bullying. It's an example of how many vegans like herself take their strongest arguments, which are pretty useless when you actually put them in front of somebody who actually has knowledge on these topics. But they take—
Oh, what, you? Oh, if you have knowledge on the topic, let's hash it out. Please, sir. Mr. Omniking. Debate me, bro.
Take their quote-unquote strongest arguments out to the streets and bring them in front of people who have never really thought deeply about veganism, about—
You can find an example of bully. Well, to be fair, yeah, I mean, he's trying to find the worst of the worst, right? And he's saying, oh, well, she's not bullying, but like she's bringing her arguments and they're crap. So it's like, well, the claim about like bullying and stuff was not very necessary because you're not really finding it from her, right?
About their own moral, ethical choices as far as consuming meat and dairy and all of that goes. And they absolutely make these people look like asses, like they don't know anything at all, which it's not true. If these people went home, spent maybe 30 minutes to an hour watching some Omniking videos, they'd be educated and well equipped.
Oh, you'd educate them, right? Oh, fuck. Okay, you got me, Omni, that was funny. No way. You think you're educating non-vegans with, like, good anti-vegan arguments? Oh, look at that, that's tickled me. Oh, shit.
Enough to come back and fight these vegans off. And I'll show you exactly why by taking one of her quote-unquote debates. It's not really a debate when the other person is unprepared, but they act like it is anyway, because it's—
Ooh, you're prepared though, aren't you, Mr. Teacher? Mr. Anti-Vegan Teacher. Let's go. Teach me in a debate. School me. I'm down.
a small victory for them, because that's all they can really get are these little small victories. But they take this debate to people who don't know any better, and
I'm trying to take it to you, Omniking, and you know so much.
and absolutely make them look like goofballs. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what these people could have said in these instances to not look like a goofball and to actually fight back against the
The
vegan.
bullet biter. I don't know if we're even gonna have time to like watch the bullet bite either. Shit. I may have to like just do another stream that's, you know, like stay tuned. In fact, because some of you might not see it.
These were the circumstances. Everything you just listed, that person that you're talking about, not human. not human
Okay,
enough.
so
They're
the
in the, they would basically
proposition.
put them in the animal category, and so therefore, if they do
So
it, then I would consider it the same thing.
okay, so a few things to point out. The proposition was granting human rights to animals. So this would be your position on whether or not you would want to grant non-human animals human rights. So if you're going to say, I wouldn't personally do it, but I would allow somebody else to do it, that's just evading the question.
It's
Would
not
you
evading the
or
question,
would
it's
you
just
not
being
be
very
in
clear about
favor?
my position.
No, would you or would you not be in favor of granting human rights to animals? So
No.
I just proposed the hypothetical. Okay, well then it's a if
Do
you wouldn't
we-
personally do it, but you're saying you wouldn't grant human rights to animals on that basis, then you would be okay with other people going after Jews who are no longer human, who are mentally disabled, and killing them. You'd be fine if we
think
had
we've
a meat
exhausted?
industry of killing mentally disabled Jews and, turning them into hamburgers. You wouldn't do it personally, but you'd be fine if other people partook in it.
Hold
I
on.
I feel
Kobo,
like
you trying to say something?
yeah, I feel like we're going in circles at this point, and I
No,
feel, do we think that we have
we're almost
exhausted-
done. This is only going to maybe take another 5 minutes.
I kind of agree with
Do
Kobo
you,
because
do you think there's other angles about veganism versus like an omnivore diet that we could discuss though? So far, it's been mostly on an ethical
we're almost
perspective.
done with this topic. We can move on to like the health related stuff. But again, if you're saying you wouldn't personally do it, but you wouldn't be in favor of invoking human rights for animals, then you wouldn't do anything like protest in order to get people to stop killing mentally disabled Jews and turning them into hamburgers.
You're saying I wouldn't do anything to protest it. But the thing is, what you're describing it isn't human. It doesn't have the human characteristics.
That's fine,
so
but I'm just asking you the question. So non-human Jews who are mentally disabled, you'd be fine with
more than just mentally disabled. You said basically pretty much has none of the
lacking in moral
characteristics that makes us
agency
human.
and
And is
executive
basically
function,
an
if that's
animal
what it
that
is.
acts on animal instincts that
There are
would
literally humans that don't have moral agency, like children or people with certain conditions that mean the moral agency is like missing. That leads them to sometimes do bad behavior because they don't have that moral agency.
go outside and just kill a person to eat them because they're acting on animal instincts. I don't consider that person human, and I would think that person in quotations would be a menace to society and would have to be routed. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but
Because- That'd be like if you put some extra hair on them and basically called them a werewolf. Like a werewolf
By the
is like
way,
a
most animals that we kill who are that are domesticated, they're non-violent, like they're not a threat. So we're just talking about maybe a disabled person who would shit their pants and can't think
Then-
to like walk to the toilet.
then what would be the reason?
Well,
kill
that's a good
them.
question. What would be the reason to kill an innocent animal?
For your nourishment and for your survival.
Okay, cool. And you could kill a mentally disabled Jew. They
Who
have
isn't
vitamin
a person
B12
in
and all the
this-
nutrition you need.
In this
The
hype,
fact they're not a person shouldn't be the bit that's like, oh, well, yeah, like that would then be wrong.
hypothetical who isn't a human is what you're saying, who isn't human. Then if somebody else, again, I wouldn't, but if somebody else did, I wouldn't be upset at them because what you described is
It's not about whether you'd be upset, it's about whether or not it'd be morally wrong in your view. So when he said, I just don't know how like a vegan could come along and make a position that's like any better than mine, I think I fucking could. I think I could quite quickly. Yeah, because you're going to bite some wild bullets very much quicker than a given vegan is in their moral worldview, for the most part.
human. And if they're far enough to be not considered human for whatever reason, and I mean, again, unless you want to say it's close enough that it's basically cannibalism, then I still disagree because I don't agree with cannibalism. But if they're far enough from being human, that it's not considered cannibalism, then there you can categorize them as
By
an animal.
definition,
They
it
have
wouldn't be
animal
cannibalism
instincts.
because they're different species.
Yeah.
Then yes, that is my position. Yes.
Oh man. So now we see, right? Now we see, okay, what might be the motivation for not liking vegans very much. Because there exists this bullet bite that's very tragic.
In here. Now, here's the thing, though. I will give you this caveat.
This is the debate king, by the way, against vegans.
That typically when you bring a vegan into a debate and you actually have them by the ropes with science, evidence, biology, etc., they'll just start using what ifs. They'll start using
What, hypotheticals? The thing you use in debates to test someone's values and whether or not they're consistent with them. Yeah, that thing that happens in debate commonly, yeah?
what ifs like crazy because what ifs always trip people up because it adds this extra layer. The problem is with these what ifs.
What do you mean extra layer? It tests your value system, and people often trip up because, yeah, their value systems lead to absurdities if held consistent when they're trying to defend something as abhorrent as paying for animals to be exploited and killed, yeah.
So I'll tell you right now is that if these what ifs are not grounded in reality, could never exist on this planet, then they're completely useless. And
Wait,
you
what the fuck did you just say? What?
are using what ifs like crazy because what ifs always trip people up because it adds this extra layer.
No, they don't always trip people up. Okay, I could give one to myself right now. What if you were stranded on a desert island and there was a banana tree and there was a human? What would you eat first? I'd be like, oh, the banana tree. Because I value sentient beings, so I'm not going to eat the human first. What? I'm impressed how you are still debating people and fighting for animals. I stopped because I just got so tired of it. I think there is a layer of me that's very tired constantly of this absolute pathetic nonsense. There is a guy, right, with 18,000 subscribers who is on record and probably still believes that, like, you could get this kind of human-like being, okay? And as long as they're not part of the species Homo sapien, they're just lacking some moral agency. They're still sentient. Yeah, he wouldn't be morally opposed to, like, killing them and farming them. Like, that's that. I'm tired of that shit. Like, it wears me down. But I'll just carry on. I don't see myself not advocating. It's just been my passion and the thing that drives me. Well, one of the things, but, you know, that drives me to just carry on doing it. So yeah, I'm tired too, man, because this is like ridiculous. No way I'm eating a tree. Damn it. I wasn't specific enough in the hypothetical.
The problem is with these what ifs, I'll tell you right now, is that if these what ifs are not grounded in reality, could never exist on this planet, then they're completely useless. And you
Wait. So when you say can never exist on this planet, I need to, like, get what you're saying. Are you saying, oh, it could happen on another planet? So it's not, like, physically impossible. But or are you trying to just say it's, like, a physical impossibility? Because if it is, then if someone does give you a hypothetical and it's a physical impossibility, you can just say, I can't answer that because it is a physical impossibility. Can you give me one that isn't a physical impossibility? I can't remember the last time I've heard a vegan given a hypothetical, and then I've been like, oh no, maybe change it because that's, like, not, like, even physically or logically possible, right? So I'm not quite sure what you're even saying there, but either way, it just doesn't really make sense.
You tell them that. You tell them that, and that's a wrap. What are they gonna do? All right. I'm not sure if I said it.
It's gonna be a wrap. Wait. So you're telling people that if they get into a debate with vegans, they should reject hypotheticals, a significant tool that is used in debates to hash out someone's values. So what you're essentially doing is advocating that people in the sphere of debate just completely reject hypotheticals. What?
it already, but if I hadn't, here you go. She goes by the Militant Vegan, which is the most befitting name imaginable because that's how I categorize most people just like her. So at least she's
How you deal with fighting makes all the difference. Some like conflict, some hate it. I ignore unserious people and just focus on the positive interactions myself. I do both. Like, as you may have seen recently, I've been putting the more positive debates on this main channel, but then I have a second channel called Carnist Word Salad, and that's where really bad bullet bites happen, right? The conversation just goes to die. Someone's maybe a troll. Because I don't really know. I never really know who I'm coming across, even if they are a silly Billy. It can turn around and they can actually be like, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. So I just never know. I want to try with people, but if they're coming at me dishonestly, they're not actually giving me their view. They're there to play devil's advocate without even telling me they're doing it. So again, in the veil of dishonesty, if they bullet bite and I realize that our value sets are just so wildly different that I'm probably just not going to get through to them, they've served the purpose in just showing the horrific opposing worldview. So yeah, there's times where I'll close it, but not necessarily just at the positive ones, because the negative ones can be turned positively, you know?
that self-aware, unlike that vegan teacher who doesn't understand exactly how militant and maniacal she truly is. But let's see how the vegan teacher clone fares out in these public debates.
Wait, if you're saying they're different, then why are you calling her a clone? What?
So if you're against slavery, then you should be against animal slavery. That's my preference.
All right, I have to say it. I'm sorry, guys, to interrupt so quickly, but the slavery argument the vegans always bring up to people of color, always,
I mean, slavery is not what I go to. Every vegan goes to slavery. Like, oh, to a person of color, they see a person of color, they're just like instantly like, let's talk about slavery. Not even necessarily. But like, yeah, slavery is really bad. It's a really bad thing that we shouldn't repeat. We shouldn't make excuses for, justifications. We shouldn't use fallacious reasoning that leads people down these horrific places where they start justifying horrendous things. So yeah, it's terrible. It's important to kind of make sure we're analysing our behaviour and then refer to horrific things that have happened and see, are there any kind of like parallels in the thinking here? Are there parallels in the sort of outcomes? Are individuals affected in a similar sort of way? Like, these are important questions.
Every single time, that's what they start with. Tosh Peterson did it, vegan teacher does it every single time. Like, they all
So you've named 2 people, and that's every single time because fuck the rest of the animal rights activists. It's so true. I've actually just every single debate I've had with a person of color, I've just immediately done that. He's so correct and representing reality.
do it. And of course, the militant vegan is going to take one right out of vegan teacher and Tosh Peterson's playbook and hit them straight with the racism.
Wait, what? What? So if I say, oh yeah, homophobia, right? I can remember where it would have been like illegal for me to marry my partner because I'm gay, right? And then I try and draw a parallel to, discriminating against someone based on their sexuality. And then I talk about animal agriculture and how we discriminate on animals due to their species. Am I being homophobic? I'm just being homophobic if I'm just like, hey, fellow gay. Have you ever thought about like this discriminatory thinking and how it can like endanger people? You know, like us gays, we gay people. I'd be being homophobic? What? I don't think it works like that. If you're against that thing that is horrific to queer people, right? You're probably the antithesis of that, right?
That human rights and animal rights are interlinked, and animal rights are the logical extension of human rights.
He's laughing and looking like he's just heard the most ridiculous thing. But given the bullet bite we saw, I don't think that Die Militant Veganerin is the one who's looking ridiculous. Not at all, in fact.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why veganism is our moral foundation, and we must be vegan.
The okay was from the soul there.
Of course, yes. Just like every human being has to respect every other human being's right not to be enslaved, we have to respect the bodily integrity of animals and not enslave them.
All right, so why do you have pets? Like, the vast majority of vegans have pets, and you're against slavery. Why don't you practice what you preach and get rid of your pets? But
Oh my fucking god. I mean, I don't have any companion animals. Like, I don't have like a cat or a dog. But you think that they're analogous to... So vegans adopt, they don't buy from breeders. They will adopt an animal from a shelter who needs a home, and then they will look after them. And you would imagine someone who's vegan is actually looking for the interest in the animal. They look after them, give them a good home. You think that's slavery? Because that's more analogous to adopting a child and having them in your home and looking after them. Do you think that's slavery? What? I don't understand the analogy there.
you don't do that, do you?
So are we allowed to talk to you about something that we have to say?
Yeah, sure, afterwards, but you're still perpetrators of violence to animals,
fuck
so
you.
you need a
Basically come to
justification
accuse
for the...
us.
Pardon?
You basically come to accuse of a crime based upon your
How do
law.
you know that
But
we're
I
not
live.
vegan?
I
You
live.
would already have
the
told
thing
me
is-
that you're not
The thing is,
vegan.
I live by a different law.
All right, so
Okay?
what's your
And my
justification
law-
for enslaving animals?
My law is humans have dominion over animals.
Yeah, we can have dominion in love, and dominion
I'm pretty sure, like, if they're using this biblically, right, I'm pretty sure man has dominion over women. Does that mean you get to do horrific, atrocious things to women because there's a dominion there?
is not a justification for violence. If I have dominion over someone who's weaker than me, then I can act kindly,
We're
and
talking
it's
about
not,
humans, not
and it's
animals.
not
That's
kind.
against
Animals
humans.
are people just like you and I. They have different
people.
skin colors and culture.
Vultures.
I don't know if you know very much about the animal kingdom, but yeah, they have what we could present as cultures, for sure. They have rituals, they have like things you could call ceremonies. There's amazing things that happen in the animal kingdom. And when we sit down and watch, nature documentary, it's documenting these sorts of things. We can grant it until a vegan comes along, then, what? You think animals have any of these things? Ridiculous. And yeah, animals can be granted personhood. Who do you think personhood is applicable to?
Oh my god. Oh, that's a funny one. Oh, animals are people just like us. They have different skin colors and culture. I haven't heard that one before, at least not stated like that. That's a new one. That's a new one for me. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Real quick, don't mind me butting in here. I do have several other channels. This
Yeah,
isn't
and they're probably as
the
daft as
common
this one.
support over there on Curlington Stories.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
back
good.
to the video. Are animals people just like you and I? No, actually, there are some extreme fundamental differences between myself and a cat and a dairy cow and a pig, etc. Now, I'm going to try to mix things up a little bit. I tend to use kind of like the same arguments. I usually present the strongest ones. I'll use a slightly weaker one today. That still works, right? What is the difference between myself and a chicken, right? Many people go to intelligence, right? And intelligence isn't necessarily a good argument because then you have to, put all these caveats down of like, well, there's this like arbitrary intelligence threshold, right? Because, a pig is XYZ so smart, but what if there's a person that's only as smart as a pig? And then, you end up with all this entanglement, right? Because you could have a person who is, not fully capable as a human being who might have the cognitive ability of an animal, right? That's a possibility. It's something that happens. And then they take that argument,
You grant that there could be a human with the cognitive ability of a non-human animal. So say like like a cow, a pig, they have very varying abilities on aggregate. So I'll remember that, yep.
they run with them like, oh, would it be okay to kill and eat them? And it's like, well, no. And why is that? Why is it well known if they have the same intelligence as an animal? And you could potentially take that argument down the route of, well, cannibalism is wrong in any shape or form, right? You can't cannibalize human beings. It's terrible for, like, biologically for our species. If it's terrible for the species, then it's fundamentally incorrect, right?
Wait, it's terrible for the species, therefore incorrect? Wouldn't that just lead to like quite a few reductios? Like there could be things that are terrible for the species. Trying to think of an example. Like me eating unhealthily, would that be terrible for the species? Like what's the argument for that? That's very confusing.
You can make that argument potentially. But let's just avoid the intelligence and let's go down the route of sapiens and sentience, right?
Like Yeah, I don't understand that one. You'd have to unpack that.
Because she's going to start talking about sentience and sapiens and stuff, so it's going to become relevant very soon. So we'll kind of do like a second part to this argument when she brings it up. Now, the difference between sapiens and sentience is really important. So humans are considered sentient and sapiens, right? There's only a few other animals that are categorized as sapiens, and I fully stand against people killing and consuming these animals because I think sapiens is the important threshold that divides us from other animals. So obviously us humans, great apes, dolphins, whales, and even like corvids are considered sapiens, right? Sapiens is a much deeper level of understanding of the world. I mean, if you've ever experienced what a dolphin or an elephant, because elephants are also on this list, are capable of, it is astounding in comparison to something like a cow, a chicken, or a pig. Their experience and understanding of the world is far greater, which means they also have a deeper depth of understanding of what is happening to them in this world. And when it really comes down to consumption of animals, right, one might argue that...
Why would the depth of the experience, like, I have a much deeper experience of the world now than I did when I was, like, 6 months old. Was I less valuable because I didn't have the depth of experience? Like, just be real, okay? You've got, in a room, you've got a human, and then you've got, like, a dog. Are you really, like, someone's like, well, you know, you could kill neither, but you are someone who pays for animals to be killed, so, you know, are you willing to just kill this dog to eat them for sustenance and nutrition? And they're not sapient, so, and then you're like, yeah, I'll kill them, and then you, like, kill them. Do you think, like, it's not just horrific for them as well? Like, just be real. Like, you're coming up with all this copium, but the consequence to the individuals who suffer because you don't want to protect them, it's going to be horrible for them, isn't it? Just like it would be horrible for me when I had less of a deep understanding of the world. It's just kind of redonkulous.
Any animal is fair game, right? We're omnivores, we're supposed to eat meat. So this is pretty arbitrary in and of itself.
So the dogs, yeah.
I'm saying here is still arbitrary, but I think it's a principle that many people could get behind if they wanted to argue with a vegan, for instance. If they wanted to draw the line somewhere, draw it at sapiens. And then they'll say, well, what if a human being isn't sapiens? Well, impossible, because sapiens is inherent to the human being. Even if they don't have the ability to express their sapiens, they are still categorized as a sapiens being.
Wait, how can someone explain this one to me? So even if they are not capable, as he granted before, they're not capable and they have the same sort of intelligence as a cow, they still are categorized as such. But there are literally humans that aren't sapient anyway, but he's saying it's impossible. Like, I need to see the evidence for this. There's certain conditions that humans can have where sapience can't be achieved, to my understanding. He's made an error there. He said we are omnivores, we are supposed to eat meat. That is not crossing the is or gap. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. It's like base level 1, right? But yeah, that has to be substantiated.
And that's the argument you would use, the categorization of a sapient being. Sentience simply just means that they can feel and experience, right? That's their differentiating factor. So they draw the line at sentience, right? That's why they're fine with eating plants and stuff, because they're not sentient. And so you tell them, as omnivores, draw the line at sapience. And it's an arbitrary line, just how your line is an arbitrary line. Your ethics don't triumph over my ethics just because you say so, right? Their ethics say that.
Well, they do triumph over yours because the bullet bite that you're willing to then do, you're willing to live in a world then where I can kick dogs, punch them as long as I eat them, and I can thrive off them. And that's absolutely morally fine and actually a better worldview than mine, which many people, like, who aren't even vegan are really going to have a problem with that. So I wonder if your audience know. I'd be really interested to know how many of your 18.2k subscribers share the view that all animals who are not sapient, in your view, are fair game. Therefore, we can farm the dogs. We can throw them into an arena and do these horrific things that we do to them, like we do to bulls in bullfighting arenas. We can just do that, and that wouldn't be a problem.
Sentience is the cutoff for whether something is ethical to consume. And you can say, well, take your ethics and shove them up your fucking ass. That's not where I draw the line. I draw it at sapiens. And then you make the argument.
Okay, then you'd sound like a fucking prick when I try and get you to hash out your values when it comes to an animal like a dog, yeah.
And right, what makes your ethics superior to mine? There is no such thing.
The fact that you sound horrific, like 100%.
As global consensus on superior ethics. Ethics vary from person to person, from culture to culture, to religion, to experience, and tell them to make an argument for why their ethical parameters are somehow superior to yours, and see how they try to justify that. And then you'll have plenty of counter arguments to back things up with if you've been watching my videos for a while. Trust me. I'm gonna let her talk for a little
I
bit
don't
because I've been
trust you.
rambling a lot already.
So what are they, objects?
Are they classed as humans?
No, they're people though. We don't have
Not
to be
people.
humans to be a person.
Yes,
so
you
I can
do.
kick a dog because it's
I
not
know
a
it says
person.
you can kick them. I said they're not people.
Okay, so if a dog is
Is
not
an
a
animal
person, it
classed-
doesn't have rights,
is an
right? So I
animal
can kick a
classed
dog.
That's not
as
true.
a human?
No, it's not.
So
I
then
never
it's
said
not-
that.
Is he going to sign off on dog kicking or no?
Right.
Quick comment. Animals in many different places all throughout the world do have rights. They just do not have the same rights as humans. They have animal rights, which does stop a dog from being kicked. You can be punished and jailed for doing that. It does protect.
Yeah. Is it morally wrong to do it though? It's not about the legality. Ooh, oh. Oh no, found the slip. Cheeky. I've been doing this too long to not see what you're doing here.
Protect those animals, but she's being extremely disingenuous, obviously.
Oh, she's being extremely disingenuous. You know, when she's talking about rights, she's not talking about rights implemented into law because, she's talking about her fundamental view that animals intrinsically have rights. She probably believes that humans intrinsically have rights. That means to her that it was before the Human Rights Bill was passed that humans had intrinsic rights. But she's being dishonest. Okay.
I said that they're people, yes, but that doesn't mean, I didn't say that animals are humans, I said that they're people. A people is a sentient being with individual traits and interests.
A definition she literally made up, pulled up out of her stinky asshole, and then presented in front of all these people. How disgraceful.
A sentient being, yes.
Sentient being.
A sentient being. A being with feelings and individual interests not to suffer. So
That's
that
not
would
what
apply to a
sentient really
dog,
means.
a cat, a human.
Wait, what?
In front of all these people. How disgraceful.
A sentient being, yes.
Sentient being.
A sentient being.
What is the word sentient being?
A being with feelings and individual interests not to suffer. So
That's
that
not
would
what
apply to a
sentient really
dog,
means.
a cat,
You could take it to mean that, yeah, because if someone's sentient, typically they're going to have a will to not suffer, yeah, to avoid suffering. It's one of the markers for how you even determine an individual is sentient. If you can't ask them, are you feeling right now?
a human.
Okay, animals, they're not beings that can express in human tongue.
Right, so
They're
some
only-
humans can't either. Can I send
Yeah.
those to slaughter?
That's not the point.
So what is the difference in
Well,
trait?
it's not the trait differential, is it?
That we can send animals to slaughter but not humans?
She pulled this one out of the Vegan Gains playbook, right? Now, this is actually an argument that
Oh, the guy that got you to bite the bullet and look really bad? Yeah, that guy.
people like Destiny have presented to Vegan Gains. The animals
Oh, wait. I'm gonna side with Destiny on this one.
don't have the ability of speech. Now, there actually are some animals that do have something that is closely related to speech, like dolphins and whales. Even elephants, a very basic form of communication that is on par with the concept of speech. Now, obviously, humans are the only species on the planet that have speech at such a great development level, but it does serve as a practical argument when they say name the trait, which is what Vegan Gains always said. And some people do say speech, right? Because humans are the only species that have speech at this capacity, right? Now, some people will say like, well, you know, like corvids and ravens, they can talk, right? It's mimicry and speech and language are very different things. It's not the same. And I'm not going to go into like the science and the depth of that, not in this video. I can maybe talk about it in the future. If you guys are curious, leave a comment if you want to hear an explanation of what that difference really is, and I'll get to it. But the speech argument is a powerful one, and they do typically always follow up with, well, there are humans that can't speak. However, that doesn't matter because it's about the capacity to speak. You may not be able to utilize the ability, but you have the capacity in the sense that your brain is set up based off of our genetic coding that has the necessary blueprints during your development as a fetus that would enable you to have speech, have access to it. And even if you're incapable of doing so at some point or even right at birth, you still inherently have it. And if you didn't, if for some reason speech was just not in your genetic code at all, then you would technically not be human. And let me explain. I know some of you are scratching your heads like, wait a second, there's people that are mute or blah, 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 that they still have speech in their coding. What you're experiencing in that situation is a lack of access to the speech. And basically, to really simplify this in simple words, is every human being, regardless of whether they can talk or not, have the coding in their DNA that every human has for speech, or otherwise they would genetically not be human. Which, again, that's one of those what if sort of things that can't exist on this planet. You can't have a human that's genetically not human. It doesn't work that way. Unless like somebody engineered, doctored a creature who is identical to a human, except you took certain characteristics out that make them not identify.
Well, yeah, as far as I'm aware with the FOXP2 gene that he's talking about, you can have a mutation in it that will apparently cause speech or language impairments. And the evidence is that they can't live long term without this gene. So the implication is there actually is a possibility that a human can like not have it or a mutation. So, like, you're going to think, oh, no, even if they have a mutation, they have it, and therefore, like, their experience still matters, but the other animals don't because they don't have it. I don't even know if this is the case. And then what does he think about individuals who have a mutation? Can he show that they can have that mutation changed so that it is a typical functioning FOXP2 without a mutation? And like, if they can't, then they don't have the capacity, right? There's a mutation. So those individuals with that mutation, is it justified to turn them into sandwiches? What if I created a world where I made human beings and I mutated their gene, their FOXP2 gene? Could I make bacon sandwiches from them? Yum yum, tasty tasty. You're going to debate and humiliate this guy? Well, apparently he's so well versed in debate, people can learn from him to debate the vegans. I don't see why he wouldn't debate, so we'll see.
Viable to a human. I'll give you guys an example that really illustrates what I'm trying to say. So FOXP2 is considered one of the most important genes for development of speech. And you cannot exist as a human being without this gene. You can have a version of it that doesn't work very good and then have issues with speech, but you cannot be born as a human.
But if you have a version that doesn't work, like functionally, that's going to be the same, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Being without it. It is impossible. I know this is an AI response, but I don't feel like pulling up the primary source documentation.
Wait. Yes, a person could be born without a functional FOXP2, but this is extremely rare and results in severe speech and language impairments. So is it okay to turn them into burgers? A complete absence is typically caused by a large deletion in the gene. Wait, so according to this, the complete absence is possible? I'm sorry, right, be fully unbiased here. If it says a complete absence is typically caused by a large deletion in the gene, isn't the implication there that you can actually be born without it? Not even just have a mutation. Therefore, it's not impossible. I didn't expect, if this is the case, I did not expect the debunking of his claim to just be in like the second sentence. Can someone help me out here? That would be so like painfully ridiculous. I'm gonna need to get through this quickly, but please help me out here.
For this, because I already know this, but this is just for your reference. But a person could be born without a functional FOXP2 gene, but it's extremely rare and results in severe speech and language impairments. A complete absence is typically caused by a large deletion in the gene, which is part of a larger chromosomal region, leading to conditions like developmental verbal dyspraxia, also called apraxia of speech. While a complete lack is not survivable and not reported, a person can be born with a non-functional copy of the gene. So
then you're just talking bollocks then. Wait, what? While a complete lack is not survivable and not reported, but it can happen, right? Like, I need to know the timing because, you know, with animals in the animal agriculture industry, some of them only last like 6 weeks. Maybe we could have them for a day. You know, how long is it when it's not survivable? How long do they live for? Get whatever that could be, you know, be it a week, a day, 6 months. I could get that cutoff point and I could farm them. Would that be morally justified?
A complete lack is not survivable and not reported. A person can be born with a non-functional copy of the gene.
Okay, so your impossibility claim has gone out the window by the very thing that you've put on the screen and read out.
So what this really means is that if you wanted to make this argument, you could just say humans have the FOXP2 gene and other animals don't. Well, at least the version that humans have. We have a special version of that other animals don't have. And if they try to follow that up with, well, what if a human was born without it?
No, not necessarily. Yeah.
It's an impossible scenario. It can't.
It's not impossible on the basis of the very thing you just read. Are you serious right now? You're confident and you think, oh, I've got a dunk here, but you just showed me and everyone else why what you just said doesn't apply.
Happen. So it's useless. Shut the fuck up and move on. And if it did somehow happen, then they genetically would not be human. So anyway, the point.
That's not true based on your source.
Point's completely mute.
It's not. You've just shown. Oh my.
As I said, we have the
I have limited time, so when I just hear nonsense, I'm just gonna beep, 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 okay?
work in a law where we have dominion.
Okay. If I work in a law where I have dominion over black people, can I send you to
Animals
slaughter?
don't work on moral law or
Yeah, all
moral
right.
complex.
So neither do schizophrenics or children. Can I send them to slaughter?
You can't compare animals to humans.
I can compare
We're not the
everything.
same. That's
All
like
right,
saying
that's
you can
literally
compare
making
me.
a
That's like you saying you can compare
I
me
can
to that
compare you
building
to
over
that
there.
building.
You
Yeah, you're a
can't.
human
I'm
with
not
a
the
sentient
same. I'm a human,
individual.
that's a
Yeah,
building.
that's literally
I'm a
the
human,
definition
that's
of
an animal.
comparison. You don't have to be the
can't.
same to make a comparison.
Yeah,
You
but
can find traits that we have in common
you can't judge
and
people.
traits that we do not have in common.
Something
That's a
not the
comparison.
same. It doesn't work.
I can give equal rights.
To be fair, the thing is, like, I don't think people understand how, like, debates work, so I think people really don't think you can compare. You can't, in their mind, draw comparisons a lot of the time when they're in the middle of a debate, but they don't realise, rather, that they draw comparisons a lot of the time to analogous situations. Like, you know, I'm sure if this person has a child, you know, if their child hits them, they'll be like, hey, you wouldn't like that if I, like, did that to your favourite toy. Or you wouldn't like that if I did that to our dog. Like, you're then comparing yourself to a dog or to a toy. There's comparisons to be made. It's just whether or not it's, like, actually apt.
And I can see what the trait differences are, and I don't see a difference that allows to send animals to slaughters, but not humans.
What's that got to do with vegan?
So if we are for you not being raped, that you have a right to your sexual freedom, that you are not allowed to be penetrated by anybody else, then so must the animals, because animal rights are the logical extension of human rights. And this is exactly what you do to animals. You penetrate them, you steal their mother milk.
They are the logical extension of human rights, by the way, and this guy is a walking example of why they're the logical extension of human rights, because his kind of argument against veganism is the FOXP2 gene that he claims is an impossibility for an individual not to have, even though his own source implied the opposite. He wouldn't, I doubt he'd be okay, you know, if we actually got him to admit that his own source said that. I doubt he'd be okay with killing these individuals who just have either a severe mutation or a lack of it. I doubt he would. And if he would, then, I mean, it's just showing how this is a logical extension of human rights and the bounds and leaps that you have to take to have a position against it.
Steal their sexual freedom if you take their body parts, their milk, and their eggs. So are you for raping?
Obviously not.
So why would you penetrate an animal to steal their mother milk?
I don't.
You pay someone to do so.
I don't.
If you're not vegan, you pay people to abuse animal bodies.
She's so
Why is it
rehearsed.
just vegan?
Because
She's so you've literally rehearsed for this video arguments. I mean, not enough, because you didn't even read your own source. And yeah, like, you've sat here and probably said the same sorts of things in your videos. Are you not rehearsed also? What's the criticism?
everything else would be animal
So you got a
abuse.
problem with vegetarians as
Of
well?
course, because I just told you mother milk is the stolen milk from a cow. Cows are being held as hostages, as slaves. Their children are being stolen. They have to be
Raphael's yeah, she needs to debate this guy. I hope she does.
penetrated, raped in order to make them pregnant, to steal their titty milk so you can
What's
have
the
some,
purpose?
to make everyone vegan so we have animal rights.
And what animals going to do for you when they're free? What are they going to do for
I
you?
don't have
What do they have to do for you? I think we should give rights to gay people where they're allowed to marry who they would like. If that they so happen to be a woman and the person they want to be with is also a woman. What's a gay person going to do for you? Why should I let a lesbian marry someone if they're not going to give me something in return? What?
to have someone do something for
Are you
me.
gonna keep them in your house? Are
Okay,
you gonna look after them?
if a dog is going to be kicked in the front of you in your street,
No, but what are you going to do?
What
Because
are
it's
you
going to be a
gonna do?
massive
Guys,
animal. What's your
I
plan?
can answer that question, but you have to take it down a notch. I will answer that question for you. But you have so far evaded every single question of mine, and you have not acknowledged your contradictions yet. I just want to state that at
But
this
that's like me
point.
saying, okay, Jesus
now
Christ
you're
is
going
the,
to the next
That's like
point,
me saying Jesus Christ is the Lord and Savior, yeah? Do you agree?
No, of course,
Well-
Tofunia is the Lord and Savior. My God is
Well
Tofunia.
then, that's
My
the thing.
goddess.
So you can say,
your God does not exist. My goddess exists,
My
and
God
my goddess says sending
My God
humans
is the
to
one-
slaughterhouse is
My
okay.
God
So
is
I'm
the
going
one
to send
true
humans
living
to
God, and
slaughterhouse.
Jesus Christ is
Look,
the life
I have
giving
literal,
God.
I have literal proof right now. My goddess wrote in the book, the only holy book, that we're allowed to send humans to
this is your
slaughter.
book?
Yeah, this is the only holy
This
book.
is the
Yeah,
holy book.
this is the holy book, and it says sending humans to slaughter is okay. So I believe in
want to kill
Tofunia.
humans as well?
Well, I'm going to ask you if my faith is okay, and enough reason to send someone to slaughter. Is it? Is my faith a good reason to send humans to slaughter and to do
You tell
violence?
us. You tell us.
And
It's
just
your
like
faith.
your
Is he going to respond to that? Is it? If I believe in the church of cow supremacy, and then I believe all humans should be farmed because that is the will of the cows evoking their vengeance upon the human race, is it then justified to turn humans into burgers because my faith says so?
Your faith is not a good reason for violence upon
So
others.
how are you wanting to kill animals and humans, but fight for animals and not
Right,
yourself?
no, I'm just trying to demonstrate you that
What?
faith alone.
Oh, this is why like debating people out in the wild's really hard, because the lack of tracking is even worse out in the wild, because yeah, people don't expect and are not versed to have the debate, but then they get involved and then they don't really realise just how much they haven't thought through a position, and it's actually difficult to have these conversations in a way that's like not completely illogical or absurd.
It's not a good justification for violence and murder. If I
Right, so we're gonna stop right here. There's a few things left to address, right?
Yeah,
so
you going to?
they were kind of almost onto something with like the, they invoked the religion argument, but they were kind of more so on the edge of like why are your ethics superior to my ethics argument, right? That's an argument
Wait, are you not going to address the question that Rafaela had? It feels like he's evading the bits that are uncomfortable for him.
that I think a lot of vegans would get stumped on, because how do you justify your ethics being more superior to someone else's, right? Especially
Well, I'm a subjectivist, so I believe that when I'm talking about right and wrong, I'm just showing you my preferences. It's not my preference to go around kicking dogs infinitely. It's not my preference to farm human beings who don't have the FOXP2 gene or a mutation. It's not my preference to do that. It's not my preference to just infinitely do any horrific atrocity to a sentient being, so a being with a feeling experience who can feel pain, to subject them to that. So I feel like mine is definitely superior to yours, absolutely, because it doesn't entail horrific rights violations. Yeah.
when 99% of people believe that consuming animals is perfectly fine, how do you convince 99% of people that your ethics are
99% of people thought that women were property. Oh, how did the women like convince the men to just like let them vote, not assault them in marriages, and that be perfectly legal? How did they do that? Because that was like the majority were of all those men were just like completely for it.
superior to theirs and therefore should be the moral.
Well, yeah, he addressed that though. He said, oh, some animals have this gene, but it's different though. So there's a whole world of nonsense that now we're going to have to dive into, because I would like to debate this guy.
Baseline. Their only argument is, well, we do these things to animals and it's bad because I said it's bad. But why is it bad? And they'll respond,
No. Because I said... Can someone just like point out like where at one point in this video any of like even the comments were like, oh, it's bad because I say so?
well, they feel pain and they're sentient like we are. They're no different to us. Okay, follow that up with a simple, why should I care? Why should anybody care?
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you, my ethics sound better than yours, because when someone says to me, oh yeah, well, they might not like have higher consciousness, but they have this basal consciousness where they're feeling this, they're smelling the world, they're hearing the world to different degrees, they're taking it all in. And by the way, if you stab them, it's really gonna like hurt them. And like all these animals who you're gonna go see in these farms, they are suffering like tremendously. They're not happy. They're riddled in disease. They're just having a horrific time. And you go, why should I care? You're gonna sound like a bit of a fucking prick, aren't you? Oh, this person, human, right? They don't have a FOXP2 gene. You know, they're then really struggling cognitively, and, you know, they can't really speak. Why should I care? Why should I care about them then?
That these animals feel pain, etc. That still doesn't prove that your ethics are superior to mine just because you care that animals feel pain. 99% of us, maybe we don't care. Justify that. And they usually
I really, like, thankfully, you're part of probably a minority. And I'm thankful for that. Just because you don't give a flying fuck about the experience of a dog who may be crying out for their person to just, like, pay them attention or not kick them or not stab them. Oh, yeah, you're so great. That's really nice of you.
usually go down the routes of things like human slavery, etc. You think that's bad, using animal, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, my ethics say that human slavery is bad, but not animal slavery. And that's how you kind of end up in this loop, because that's when they
Not human slavery of those without a FOXP2 gene, though.
invoke those types of arguments where it's like, well, justify the difference between a human and other animals. And you have a few arguments. You have the FOXP2 gene, which is different in humans, that is
Not necessarily there.
not widespread across other animals. They don't have it. So you have the speech arguments.
Well, they do have the FOXP2 gene. There's animals with the FOXP2 gene, you even said that.
want to use it. You have the sapiens versus sentience argument as well. You get to draw the line.
Like humans can also not be necessarily sapient.
At sentience, I draw the
So
line.
this isn't a trait set that's applicable just to humans.
Sapiens, how is your line
So if you draw the line at sapiens, then you're not drawing the line at human being, though.
better than mine? And you can't just say, oh, because they
Because
still
mine doesn't condemn humans to be slaughtered. Yeah.
feel pain. To you, that doesn't matter. Oh, let me just throw in a little bonus argument for you here.
Oh, no.
You could make the argument that most slaughter that happens in factory farms is done without pain, without
So if I slaughter you without pain, it's justified if you don't have the FOXP2 gene? I'm pretty sure you understand that slaughter is not going to be good just because someone doesn't feel pain. You came back, right? This guy stopped recording. He then came back and he was like, oh, I know another good one. This is a banger.
suffering, and then ask them to then make their argument for ethics.
Sufferings isn't going to be the necessary component for a vegan having an issue with something. I have an issue with people violating the rights of an individual. Someone doesn't have to feel suffering while their rights are being violated. It is still bad.
If you completely take the pain and the suffering out, what's their argument then? If they say something
Their rights are still being violated.
along the lines of being killed is suffering, that's not true. You didn't experience any pain. You didn't know you were dying if it happened instantly. And at that point, the pain and the suffering argument simply falls apart. Now, I
Oh my God. When someone talks about pain and suffering, you absolute genius, they're trying to communicate something very clear. These animals can experience these things because they have an experience. Therefore, if you take the experience away from them, be it without pain and suffering, you have violated their rights. This should not be hard.
know a natural follow-up to this.
And he also has not seen, so he's saying most do not feel pain. Have you watched slaughterhouse footage? Have you gone to a slaughterhouse and watched the animals? Some animals who we slaughter can smell blood from a very far distance. You think an animal, when they smell blood, they're not going to be like, oh. When they hear the screams of other animals around them, animals who can experience emotional contagion, I don't know if you can experience that, holy shit. You don't think they're like, oh shit. Because when cows, they see happy cows, they experience emotional contagion, which is documented when they're sad, when they're bellowing out for children who have been stolen from them from, for example, the dairy industry. There is a shared sorrow, sadness within those other cows. Even if he appeals to the human version of the FOXP2 gene, it would just be tautology. I value humans because they have the gene that humans have. This is not informative. Yeah, exactly. I think that's why, Skirmish, thank you for putting it like that. I'm so confused by that. Even if we granted that it is a physical impossibility for a human to be without that, they just cease to exist completely. They can't even be born. They can't, even then, it's not informative for you to then say, I value them because of this.
Would likely be something of, oh, well, if a human couldn't feel pain or you killed them instantly, would that be ethically okay? Nobody suffered. And you can simply respond with, no, people do suffer. Even if nobody knew that person, simply knowing that you could be killed just because you were unconscious or something like that creates existential.
Well, then you've just changed the hypothetical. Did you see that? So now he's moved the goalpost. It's not now, oh, well, the cabin in the woods, nobody knows that you're going to be killed quickly. You don't even know. It's the cabin in the woods, you're about to be killed. You don't even know. But everyone has knowledge that this world is possible and acceptable. That's a goalpost move. That's not the hypothetical you posed to yourself. You sat here and thought about that one, and this is what you come up with.
Suffering. People knowing that, oh, if I accidentally get knocked out or I pass out, somebody can just come by and kill me without consequences.
That's not what you posed in the first hypothetical. Fuck's sake, you literally gave it to yourself and you still couldn't answer it correctly. That's embarrassing.
It's a mental suffering, so suffering still exists. That same thing would not apply to animals, and there you go, checkmate. See how
he really thinks, oh my God.
Oh, it becomes impossible to make an argument that your ethics are superior to someone else's ethics. If they can't prove, without speaking in circles and saying the same thing over and over again, that their ethics are superior to yours, then they have no argument for veganism, period.
I could tell you exactly why my ethics are superior to yours, and I would love your audience, because I really think that if they heard your ethics versus mine and the logical entailments of those ethics, they would actually prefer mine. Yeah,
Ethics are an arbitrary concept. A long time
Yep, and I'm sure, you know, when you were saying earlier about something being racist, I think you take that to be bad, right? Yeah? Or I think you take it to be bad if someone was homophobic or if they were sexist. So you can't then just go, well, scratch that, because morality is, it's just arbitrary. It's all these arbitrary values. You wouldn't do that. So why are you doing it now?
ago, not even that long ago, a few hundred years ago, slavery was a very widespread thing because
Yeah.
that wasn't considered unethical by most people. They were perfectly fine with slavery happening.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's not exactly true, but the people in power sure as hell were. I imagine the peasants probably didn't feel that way, but the people in power were perfectly fine with it. Was that a good thing? No, not at all.
I'm trying to understand how it's a commonality in his videos that I've seen so far, that he will go on to make a claim very strongly and confidently, and then he'll just literally contradict it in the next sentence. And I don't know how he's not cognizant of that.
At all. But eventually, the global interpretation of ethics favored the loss of slavery, and so that became the baseline.
Did you think that was a good thing? Or did you think, oh no, it's all arbitrary, like we shouldn't extrapolate anything from any of these values? We shouldn't make decisions and try to come to a collective agreement about what would be better?
Slavery. Right now, the global consensus across the world is that animal agriculture and husbandry is not unethical, at least not inherently. Obviously, there's unethical practices, but generally speaking, the practice itself is not unethical. And only a very, 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 very small amount of people think otherwise, which makes the global consensus that it is ethical. And they want to make the argument that it's not, that their ethical parameters are superior to the global consensus. They really do not have a leg to stand on.
Oh my God. I think I've just like had a brain aneurysm. He's just brought up an example of a real world situation in the history where something he's acknowledging, probably the majority of people thought it was acceptable. It wasn't though. And then it's changed to, the inverse. And then he brings up veganism and he's like, oh yeah, well the majority of people think it's acceptable. Only a fraction people don't, so they don't have a leg to stand on. He can't follow his own logic. That is the end of that. Thank fucking God. I want a debate. I want to set that up as soon as possible. You shouldn't have a problem debating me. I'm an annoying vegan. You've got a channel dedicated to annoying vegans, so let's freaking go.